All right, everyone. It is another episode of the Proptech
Awesome.
Genius Show. And I am so excited to have damn it. I did it again. I never get every, so I'm going to butcher your name. Medite Mala, say it for me. Say it.
Perfect.
Medite.
Yeah.
I did it.
Let's just go with
Okay.
the name. Yeah.
All right. I got you.
Madite,
Like I
perfect.
did, but
Yeah.
don't feel bad. I do this to everybody. I did it to Dirk Pielnick too. I was like, oh man, we talk forever before the show starts, and then I forget to like, hey, how do you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
So
But
silly.
you but you actually said it, you said it
Did
actually
I get close?
quite perfect, you know?
Yay.
Yeah, you
All
got
right.
it spot on, you
So
know?
we are going to have such a fun conversation today because I'm so blessed to have him on my show. He is from South Africa, and we're going to get to talk about the emerging market of prop tech in Africa, and I'm just like pumped. All right, so I will let you introduce yourself since I can't say your name correctly,
Sure.
and tell us what
Yeah,
you're doing, how you got into prop tech. Give us a little bit about your bio, and then we'll just kind of get into the conversation.
sure. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Amy, for introducing me. I know we hooked up on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and it's actually great that we're here now where we're actually having this conversation. So, so I'm really glad to be on this podcast. So my name is Madite Moalusi. I am from South Africa, Johannesburg. I was born in the most famous township in the world called Soweto. And why should you know Soweto? Because Nelson Mandela and the Archbishop Desmond Tutu were Nobel Peace laureates, and they actually lived on the same street. So they are actually the only two people that lived on the same street to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's
so
crazy.
just a little bit of info,
That is so
they lived
cool.
on the same street. Yeah.
Wow. Learn something
Yeah.
new every day.
So I was born. Yeah. So I was born and raised in Soweto. I got into the real estate industry just before the kind of the financial meltdown of 2007 2008. Started off as an agent. I was very fortunate. Within kind of 6 to 8 months, I started I became a co-owner in a real estate agency. We're actually focusing on Soweto. I think that's why I kind of brought up Soweto, and that was kind of my testing ground. So I kind of learned about the real estate market. We had a group of agents under our belt, and we were kind of focusing on the buying and selling and the rental market. And I think that time was when so we had a platform here. There was kind of the initial Proptech platform that we had was Property 24, where you could list and your property if you want to sell it, or if you want someone to kind of rent your property. So that was kind of my first entry into kind of prop tech,
Wow.
But I didn't kind of take note of it. I kind of realized much later on that actually that was the beginning of prop tech,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so kind of the 2008 happened. The world kind of went to belly up, and I.
I was an investor. I
I
started investing then too. It was special.
Oh man. So everyone kind of felt pain around that particular time. So I kind of pivoted
Can I
away
stop you
from
and ask you a question? I'm just going to do this.
yeah, please do.
So I thought
Please
that was
do.
a US phenomenon. Like it was just like a US, we had a real estate recession in the US. I didn't realize how much of a global thing that was.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually makes you realize how influential the US market is across the world,
Yes.
Because I think you guys went through it from like 2007.
Yeah, well, it's really started in 08. It really started in
Yeah.
08. And then
Okay.
and then it went till I think we didn't pull out of it until 2014. I mean, it was
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I really So I think we felt it around the same time. I think when did Barack Obama become president? I think it was around 2008, right?
Yeah. So I guess
2008,
what
2009.
2007 towards the end, George Bush was like, "Oh, holy hell, this is about to go down on us, and we've got to
Yeah.
do something." And then, oh wait, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember his inauguration. I think that I'll never forget that image, you know, because that's kind of when the world and everyone was trying to make sense of are we actually in this hellhole that we're in, you know?
I know. Yeah,
because
sure.
it was. I think nobody knew what was going on, you know.
Yeah.
And so you know, I think that company had to dissolve because the real estate market, how it was or how it still is here, is you have a lot of buyers that are heavily reliant on bank loans, you know, and so if you want to buy a home and you need kind of, you know, bank financing, and you need kind of, you know, the conveyancing fees, you know, not a lot of people have kind of money stashed away for paying lawyers, you know, lawyers fees, or having a deposit that they can pay for a property that they want to buy, you know. So when the 2008 happened, that's pretty much what happened. So that was kind of like, if you want to buy a property, pretty much have like all the money up, have the deposit, be able to pay a conveyance, you know. And so it's like it was very, very unrealistic to kind of think that a market would survive, you know, out of that type of model, you know. And so I left there, and I kind of got into around there. My father had a construction company, so he was primarily focused on the, you know, on the public sector. And so I kind of used that the time that I had to help him, you know, build the private sector, you know, kind of presence, helping him to kind of work with you know, some of the listed you know, companies here in South Africa, and that was cool for a couple of years. And then 2010, so 2010 was a big year in South Africa. So 2010 was the World Cup.
Oh, wow.
The soccer World Cup. So it was a really, really major thing. And just before the World Cup, what happened was like everyone got excited because everyone had this opportunity, and they were told, you know, you're gonna have all these visitors coming to the country. You know, get your homes ready. You know, if you have a business, or if you have, you know, any kind of accommodation that you can convert and make it, you know, kind of you know, friendly for visitors. You know, you kind of had a lot of that buzz. And so I was fortunate. I worked with a couple of boutique hotels that were, you know, getting ready to, you know, to kind of start welcoming, you know, kind of the global community into the country, helping them kind of, you know, helping with fundraising. And so that was really, really interesting, because I think that's when I kind of started understanding dynamics of how to work with kind of parties outside of South Africa. Because I think before then, I think everything else was kind of just focused on the South African market. You know, so there was like the South African financing, you know, firms, the banks, and that was kind of it, you know. And so I think even just around the time, Proptech was kind of still in my mind, but I wasn't sure how to get kind of involved in it, you know. And then I came across a insurtech company that was based in Cape Town here in South Africa. And so I kind of Googled them. I liked what they're doing. And it also kind of reminded me of what I did when I started off, you know, with kind of the agency stuff. Because I you know, so what this insurtech company does, or still does, is they offer rental insurance to landlords and to tenants. So how it works is that on the one side you have landlords who have, you know, this real estate that they want to you know, lease out to a tenant. On the other side, you have a tenant who, you remember I spoke about not everyone having kind of cash flow, you know, for anything that happens. in South Africa, what happens, I don't know if it happens in the States, is that when you are when your lease is just about to end, right? And your landlord comes in and he does this inspection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite rare that you actually, or maybe let me not say rare, but
You never
in
get
most
your
cases, what you
deposit back.
find is that
You never get it back. You never get it back.
exactly you never do. Yeah. So it's a worldwide phenomenon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The landlord will tell you about everything that you did. He'll point out
Yeah.
a scratch and he says, "Oh man, that scratch is gonna cost 5,000
I know.
US dollars." And you're
Yeah.
like, but, I mean,
No, I know. It's the funniest
that's
thing because in Texas, I was doing
yeah.
other projects in other states, but in Texas, the rental deposit, you
Okay.
consider it as income. You don't have to escrow it. You don't have to do
Oh
anything. So
wow.
all the owners
Really?
put it as income. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because we know we're like,
Wow.
you never getting that back, buddy. But it's
You're never gonna get it back.
yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's that or if it's just that they just expect the owners to, be good people and be able to have cash all the time in case they have somebody leave. I don't know.
Yeah.
They consider it income here. So yes, it is a worldwide phenomena. The whole move in, move out process.
Yeah.
Crazy town. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Sure. So and I think that's why I think I kind of gravitated towards this insurtech company, because what I loved about it was it was solving a real problem.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, what you have in South Africa is you have a lot of I guess it's kind of worldwide, where the rental market is kind of larger um,
Yes.
than people that are actually buying homes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you actually do have a very healthy rental market. But on the other side, on the flip side of it, is the deposit is still a major factor.
Mhm.
And so what this company did is that they kind of bridged the conversation between the landlord and the tenant. So the tenant does not necessarily doesn't have to pay deposit,
Mhm.
uh, unless, well, the main thing is that they need to be a very good tenant. So that
Yeah.
the track record with their past landlords is very, 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 very crucial.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you cover the landlord, because tenants do abscond. Even if it's a well-behaved tenant.
Yes.
Tenants tend to go crazy.
Yeah, they do.
They'll just abscond after 3-4 months, and he's just like, "Oh, I found another place." He leaves you with this place, and you're just like, "You can't just leave." I mean, I have to have a tenant. I have to have
You
rent
signed
at
a
the end of the
lease,
month. Who's
you
gonna
crazy
pay that?
person.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, with the stories that we used to hear are crazy, because people leave at like midnight, just to make sure that the landlord does not, bump into
See,
them.
they're
You
leaving in
know.
the cover of darkness.
Exactly. Make sure your friends takes everything. You just
Yeah.
leave like you're just going to the shops.
Oh,
Um,
funny.
and so that is what they focused on. And for me, I think it just made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge was that they were only just focused on a small part of South Africa, which is Cape Town. So Cape Town is a very affluent
Mm-hmm.
province, or yeah, province,
Mm-hmm.
state. And Johannesburg is kind of one of it's actually one of the biggest cities,
Yeah.
in South Africa.
Okay.
So for me, it just made sense. It's like you have this huge market that needs kind of this solution. And so I put a proposal together. I said to them, guys, you in Cape Town, there's nobody here in Johannesburg. I've got this I've got expertise in real estate. I'm talking to people every single day, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe not every single day, but on a weekly basis. I kind of pick up these challenges that people have. I see the value of your product offering.
Mm-hmm.
Can we find ways of partnering together? And so they said to me, "Cool, let's see what you can do." And so I started bringing clients to them. And then we started having a conversation, because I think I was very, very fortunate, because at that particular time they were also fundraising. And so
Okay.
I helped them with the fundraise, yeah, with the listed financial services conglomerate here in South Africa, that I listed on Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And they actually moved into those offices. I helped them to kind of build the business.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that was for me very, very fun,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's the good thing about
and
being
that was kind of
new company is like
yeah,
it's
good.
crazy fast. Like it goes so fast, and they're like,
Yeah,
how do we just do that?
exactly.
But it's great. It's great for sure. Yeah, it's great. That's awesome. Very
Yeah, and you're very right because I think that's what I loved about it because it was a very small team that they had in Cape Town, and I think what they wanted to do here in Johannesburg as well is that they wanted to start building a team, and so I think it was kind of perfect time, perfect place, and I kind of started helping them put a team together
Mhm.
with the fundraising. So that for me, I think was my first initial kind of prop tech, I guess project initiative that I got involved in, which
Well,
was
it
really
was the
exciting.
second because you really did a prop tech initially way back in the day. So it was the second one that you did. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think this one, well, technically was the first because the other one was more like it was an already existing platform,
Mhm.
which I kind of didn't have any. We were pretty much just subscribing to it.
Okay.
So for me, I think this one was like fully fledged, me getting involved, me
Okay.
uh, kind of applying myself and kind of making sure that
What year
I,
what year was
I, I
Project?
so this was it was about 7 years ago,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. So that's when those products
Um,
started becoming really popular in the United States too. So it was all about
yeah,
let's reduce the ask of a tenant when they first get in. Like let's reduce the amount. Like they don't have
sure,
because for them to move in, their moving cost was, sometimes people charge a full month's rent, and then you had to pay your rent, your full month's rent for
sure,
the deposit, plus your rent,
yeah,
plus your
sure,
moving costs. And so now you're like, just to move
yep,
apartments, the burden was just crazy. Right. And then they're never going to
sure,
get that money back. And I have
definitely.
I owned a multifamily back in the day. I was always in workforce housing. Those people
Okay,
couldn't pay a month's rent plus another rent. And like they couldn't do that. There was
it
just no
won't
way.
happen. No,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
definitely won't happen.
You were never going to lease a unit, like ever.
Unless if you're asking them to go and actually get loans, which
Yeah. Yeah.
you know and the crazy thing here in South Africa is you would find somebody asking for double deposit, and you're just like it's not feasible because
Yeah.
the same thing like that you're talking about. It's like if a person is living from paycheck to paycheck, where do you think they're gonna mysteriously just have this money in their back pocket?
For sure. Yeah. Not gonna happen. Oh, that's great. So where are you still with that company, or what happened?
No. So it was more of a consulting gig that I did with them.
Mhm.
So this was kind of a couple of years that I did with them. But I think it was kind of it was very, very interesting because I think if you're saying you guys were kind of around the same time doing the same model, I think it was a bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because um, I mean, now Wi-Fi is kind of now widely available in South Africa.
Mhm.
So you can imagine 8 years ago how expensive um, just being on the internet was,
Yeah. Yeah.
for just the ordinary person. And so, I mean, and the entire process is crazy because everything is done online. So, for you to get the policy, you literally have to be online answering all these questions. It's yeah, for an ordinary South African, I think that wouldn't have been a very feasible
Mhm.
product, but it kind of served a niche. So it was kind of like the middle to upper class that loved the product because they could relate to it.
Mm.
They could understand kind of the references. So some people kind of would maybe talk about stuff that's happening in the US or in Europe, very, very similar. So they kind of got the idea. But if you had to kind of make it mass product and make it more available to kind of the ordinary South African, it would need a lot of things to kind of work hand in hand. So you would kind of need internet, service providers to make internet affordable. Which is now kind of starting to become a reality now, which was never a thing 8 years ago,
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
um,
Yeah, no, it's very true.
and I
It's
think
so funny. That was just 7 or 8 years ago. And just the amount
right?
it's changed so much to like and now
Absolutely.
like a tenant will go to your multifamily property in the US, and if they can't get good cell phone signal, they won't rent there. Like I mean, you have to have
Yep.
connectivity. So if you do not have
You have to.
you have to, and if you do not have community-based Wi-Fi, and because you're in a bad cell phone signal area, you're just there's no one's gonna rent from you. So you have to
You've
bring
lost them. Yeah,
connectivity has to be there. It has to be there. It's like crazy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think what I loved about it is it started. I think it did for me two things. I think it made me realize, because I was, even when I started off as an agent, and starting off that agency, I realized the importance of technology in real estate, because inefficiencies, I think everyone speaks about the why Proptech is very important in solving these inefficiencies.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see it then, you know what I mean? 2008, that it's something that needs to be disrupted. But how the disruption needs to happen is another question altogether, because now you're kind of working with these already established, real estate companies that are very comfortable in how they work and how they do things. And you are just coming here with, with concepts and these brilliant ideas, and they're just looking at you like, yeah, we hear you, all these plans that you have, but do you think we're going to go with your plans, or do you think we're going to stick with how we've been doing things?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, I get you. I feel you for sure. The same here. It's the same here. I
you
mean,
know?
the
Yeah.
companies, I think there's a changing of the guard happening. I like a lot of the real estate companies have been doing
Yeah.
business. A lot of large ones have been doing business for a long time. A lot of the leadership is changing to younger people. I think that phenomenon is true.
Yeah.
And those people are willing to embrace technology, but
Yeah.
I think they're being forced to, because of the real estate recession that we are in.
They are forced.
They have to. They cannot
Yeah.
operate the same way they've been operating in the last 100 years.
No, they can't. No, they can't. And I think also the pandemic helped us, because I think what it did is that it kind of fast tracked a lot of things, right? So if you have to, I mean, I'll give you an example. Here in South Africa, we had crazy lockdowns. So you had kind of instances where you couldn't go to work, and if you kind of, your employer had to figure out a plan of how they would, still make you work while you were still at home,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of companies, especially real estate companies, they started kind of figuring out that maybe it might not be forever, this kind of pandemic situation we were going through, but it kind of started making them realize that, I think the reality is that we kind of started to move into this new world, and this new world kind of needs us to start thinking differently. So you're right in that sense. I think a lot of companies are starting to kind of shed their old thinking, because they're realizing the old thinking is not as productive as it used to be. But I think they kind of still trying to figure out how to balance what they're still doing that is working for them, and kind of how to integrate this new kind of world,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's true, and even in prop tech, I mean, we're going through this major upheaval. So a real estate's going through this like upheaval, but prop tech is too,
Yeah.
because all the legacy systems that prop tech made were not integratable. They were just made and
Yeah.
like and so, but now fast forward 5 years, you have to be able to be integrated. There's so many solutions coming on every day, solving different problems that are happening in real estate. And if the tech can't sing kumbaya, like if it can't integrate
Yeah.
because of the way you built it stupidly, or just back in the day,
Yeah.
you didn't think you were going to have to integrate with anybody, right? Hence
Sure.
IP Appfolio. Like they just didn't think they were have to
Yeah.
integrate them. It's so funny. It cracks me up.
Sure.
But like but it's true. Like there's so much tech coming out. There's so much everything coming out.
Sure.
You have to build your solutions today to where somebody can
Yeah.
just hop on the train and plug in and let's go, right? I mean,
Sure.
and not be a
Yeah.
jerk about it. Like, don't be a jerk about
Sure.
people integrating with you. Just have an open API and let's go, man. Like, I don't understand.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's kind of, I think, another thing that kind of helped pivot from the that initial insurtech I
Yeah.
guess consultancy work that I did with them,
Yeah.
because that's what I realized. I saw, I mean, after that I started looking at other models
Hmm.
of just kind of different prop tech solutions.
Yeah.
And what I kind of started picking up for a couple of years was that you had kind of these prop tech companies that were creating solutions that were not, I think they were not easily, you're right. I think one, they were not easily they were not easy to integrate.
Hmm.
And I think secondly, they were solving problems for themselves instead of solving problems for the customer.
Uh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
So it's
It's
almost like you
hilarious that we have
had
the
these smart
same
people that
dynamics
kind of thought,
happening. Yeah.
you know, people just want tech.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And you're right, from another prop tech platform that had all these prop tech companies. And I would be like, you guys are all creating this, but who is going to use this? Speaking gibberish. I mean, no one will understand what you're saying, because it's very high level. And for a customer, just want something that works.
I know. Yeah. And
And
that's
so for
true.
me,
I
like,
mean, that's the divide too, right? Because
it's like trying to,
yeah. Sorry for interrupting. There's a little bit
yeah,
of a lag, but no, but that's true because there's a divide between the real estate operator
yeah,
who doesn't know tech and the tech company who just speaks tech, right? And
yeah,
so that's where you're
exactly.
the good bridge because it's like you're building technology that
Yeah,
the group doesn't want. Like, why are you building this tech that's dumb? Right. And but then you also have to say, oh no, real estate people, this tech is really good for you, but let me show you how. And there's a big gap between
sure.
that today, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I did a conference. So there was a conference late last year here in South Africa.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Proptech focused, but I think was dealing with student housing. So we have a huge backlog in terms of student housing here in South Africa.
Mhm.
And so the session that I got involved in was around Proptech and how Proptech is still. I mean, I was so amazed when I listened to a lot of people that were there, because a lot of them were still very, very confused about what prop tech is. And these are people that are not consumers, you know what I mean? These are people that should be building solutions. But they were so confused, like where to start. I'm just like, what's going on here? um,
Yeah.
but I think you're right. It is that reality, because I think it's kind of, you have like three parties. You have the operators on one side. They've got the real estate. You have these tech companies, because not every real estate company can have an in-house IT department. So it's either you kind of start thinking about how to build a collaboration of some sort, whether it's a partnership, whether you actually bring the person as a consultant to help you build these solutions. And the challenge here, especially here in South Africa, has been just around the just the different conversations. It's kind of like everyone is kind of in their corners, and they kind of doing their own things, and the consumer is the one that suffers the most, because it's like, if everyone could just put their heads together, kind of put their egos aside and say, it's cool. I'm this guy, I'm an operator. I've got however many, real estate, buildings, or however many, real estate, versus you building a solution that I know my consumers need. Can we sit down, around the table, let's kind of figure out how do we make this thing work for both of us, And I think that what I saw around the pandemic, I really, really, because before the pandemic, it was, I'll give you an example. I had one of the consulting projects that I did was for a Netherlands-based property management company. And so what they were trying to focusing on was to kind of build this platform, this online platform, to help landlords and to help tenants, to kind of build like a HOA of some sort, and it was insane because all the meetings that I would have with landlords would be like, we don't need it. And then you probably like a year later, what you find is that, they still have the same problem. And so it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Funny. Yeah. Real estate companies have been very slow to adopt technology.
Yeah.
I liken it to banks, but banks are actually probably further ahead than real estate is.
I think they are. Yeah. I
think
think you're right. Because I think real estate is kind of one of the last, I think them and kind of insurance, they're like, they just don't want to move. You know what I mean? They're very comfortable with, how they build this model. It works for them.
Yeah.
But this is just on the operating side. So you can imagine if they were to kind of solve these inefficiencies, layer by layer.
Yeah.
Just how much how much good it would be for their their bottom line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. So what are you doing today? What are you doing today? Where are you working? Are you still consulting with
So how we build a business. So I still have the kind of the real estate side. But we kind of work with funds, but outside of South Africa. So we work actually with one fund in the US. But on the Proptech side, besides the consulting, stuff that we do, I thought of an idea years ago to build I think out of these kind of these high level conversations that people were having that were, just not, I think getting to people, getting to kind of the man on the street. I came up with a concept called Love Your City. So Love Your City was a way of kind of creating a kind of a marketing campaign of demystifying, because one major thing that I saw was urbanization. I think it's going to be insane for however many decades from now until eternity. So you're finding a lot of people that are moving to cities, and so what that does is that it creates a lot of challenges because most of the infrastructure in cities are not built to accommodate all these influx of people moving in. I don't know if you have the same problem where you are.
Austin, Texas is like, it's tripping over itself. It cannot keep up.
Yeah.
No. Toronto has the same problem. Mexico City has the same problem. We all have infrastructure problems. All have infrastructure.
Yeah. And I think, so what I saw is that above and beyond infrastructure, you kind of have this challenge of, so what we wanted to do was kind of create a series, where we look at cities and we look at the relationship between real estate, technology, and people, because I think those three are very, very important. Because I think what I initially saw was like Proptech, just from the conversation that I had with you earlier, just to kind of make it a simplified conversation that you could bring more people into the conversation. I think for me has been kind of one of the most important things, because I think if that can be done in a way that accommodates kind of parties from different sides of the, the real estate ecosystem, then I think we'll start having more constructive and more realistic ways of dealing with the challenges of real estate. So Lovely City, we created it with Asia Proptech.
Okay.
So they were very, very, I think they loved the idea because I proposed to them and I said, look, this is a great initiative. I think you guys are I mean, they had been doing it for longer than myself,
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in collaboration because I believe, something that I'm not able to do. And I think that's why I commended you earlier about the PropTech Forum.
Oh, yeah.
Collaboration is really key,
Yeah, it's key. Yeah, for sure.
So we then basically started focusing on 3 cities. So but the premise of it, I think we wanted to just really, really keep it simple. So we looked at identifying one major problem in that particular city, and then would find PropTech startups that are, basically building solutions around that particular problem. And so for me, I think it was exciting because it moved away from just the kind of consulting way of how you build a relationship, which is kind of more like one-on-one, to kind of a macro problem, and just kind of figuring out how cities are actually thinking about those problems, because those are really realistic problems. It's not like a problem that it's going to happen like 10 years from now. It's a problem that's happening now.
Today.
Cities need to really, really think about.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it,
for the last 10 years, like they've been dealing with this they don't get out of it. I mean, no, true. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And some of them will still be dealing with them 10 years from now,
Yes,
so
exactly.
it's so you always have to have kind of a balance of those that are really thinking about, actually, let's solve these problems now, versus let's wait and let's see let's play it by ear, and let's see how it works out. So it was great because what we did is that we started kind of bringing in different parties into kind of this model. So we brought in VCs, we brought in kind of urbanization companies as well that were developing support structures for entrepreneurs that would kind of want to integrate into whatever system that they have, which is amazing. I mean, for Hong Kong, we were looking at, so Hong Kong, I mean, has a overpopulation problem. So they would kind of look at how to build, solutions out of the minimum space or minimum, land issues that they have. We did a episode in Lagos, Nigeria, where Lagos is the biggest city in Africa.
Yeah.
And if you have to look at the challenges that they face, I mean, their major challenge is traffic. So you can imagine if you're stuck in traffic for the entire day, if you're going to work and coming back, it's, it drives you insane,
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think it was really, really amazing just to kind of work with different types of startups that are solving real life problems, that are finding ways of adding value to everyday individuals, to make it a very feasible, and I mean, it's great for them because it's not like they're doing it for free, right? They're building these amazing products. They have customers that they're already integrating into, whether it's kind of business to customer or business to business.
No,
but
it's
just the idea
phenomenal.
of them all.
You're acting like the connector and the bridge, and because you're doing it, things can get done, right? Nobody, it's
Absolutely.
everybody's kind of hanging out over in their spaces and all doing these things. Like,
Yeah,
hey, let's just get together and like solve real problems. Like it, it's phenomenal. And
exactly.
I will offer
Yeah.
you that I want to do this in the US for the US Proptech Council. I would love to.
I actually wanted to talk to you.
Yes.
We are definitely doing it in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yes.
definitely going to
Let's
do it in the US.
go. Yes.
Yeah, done
Yes.
deal. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a worldwide problem. And
It is.
I think the US, you're right. Because I mean, the when you spoke about Austin, because I mean I've done some work with funds in the Texas area. I know how booming kind of Texas is. Austin is kind of on the up and up.
Yeah.
So you can imagine just how the existing infrastructure is still kind of lags behind this surge of people that are coming in, of these new developments that are happening, of you know what I mean. So it's you have to kind of build a great bridge of these solutions, whether they permanent, whether they kind of seasonal, but you have to kind of figure out how to start integrating those solutions into different types of communities.
Sure. And I would love to just get in a room with the other programs in the other cities just to kind of see what are you doing? How are you how are you solving this? Have the
Yeah,
same problem
sure.
and just borrow
Yeah,
the idea. I mean,
sure.
that's all about collaboration. So we can get together and go,
Absolutely.
hey, Singapore, you have a space problem. Well, Austin
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
does, sort of. We're
Has
bordered by
yeah,
lakes, and so
sure.
we can't extend any further. So,
Yeah,
what did you do? How did you do it? I mean, no, just from a policy
yeah,
perspective and pop tech
sure.
solution perspective, be great. Be
Yeah,
right. I mean, and then
absolutely, absolutely.
New York can't grow very much, and then Chicago has
Yeah,
got issues, and
sure.
like every major city, LA, and we all have different issues.
Yeah,
Space. I mean,
sure.
US has a little more space than Singapore. Just saying, we got a lot of land, but
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah,
it's nice. It's nice to have, but still, we have we still have infrastructure issues on our own, and I think a lot of the cities, their
sure.
underlying infrastructures are crumbling, and so how do we go forward and
Exactly.
solve these problems, right? For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a worldwide problem because the crumbling infrastructure,
All the time.
the wrong usage of infrastructure as well,
Yeah. Yes.
and I'm glad. I mean, one of the things that's happening here is the conversion of. So we have. I don't know if you have it the same in where you are, but we have a. I mean, I guess it's a worldwide problem. The office asset class, kind of,
Oh yes.
especially when they move away from right from the old buildings. Everyone wants
Yeah.
shiny new
I'm
buildings that they want to
surprised.
work in.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody's come up with a meme where like COVID is stabbing offices. Like just it killed it. Killed the
Yeah,
like, I mean, there's people that are still trying to get people to come back to the office, and
sure.
the
Yeah,
employees are revolting. They're like, "F you, we're not going." Like, you wouldn't keep me as an employee. I'll go work for somebody else who doesn't care, right? That I show up
sure.
in an office.
Yeah,
No, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
you know what I mean. So you kind of have the innovation that needs to happen because you have these crumbling infrastructures that you can't just leave, you know what I mean, barren.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one, it just is harmful to our ecosystem,
Mhm.
and it makes sense for the conversion. So what you find here is we're starting to find a lot of conversion of these buildings into residential.
Right.
And I think this whole kind of live work play in the same area and kind of being central,
Yeah.
I, again, global phenomenon because it's the kind of the younger generation doesn't want to travel very far from where they work, or they want kind of everything to be very central.
Mhm.
And so there's this kind of surge of these conversion of these old buildings, these, kind of class B buildings, to be kind of, kind of hip, accommodation, spaces, mixed with like retail,
Yep.
mixed with kind of lifestyle, and just kind of have everything centralized.
Right.
And so I think that helps, because I think that's where innovation as well is needed. It's how do you figure out ways of, I think, one, understanding your consumers, what they want, especially if they kind of looking at ways of being in, in these kind of modern urban. I mean, I'll tell you one thing about South Africans. I think, I mean, yes, we South Africans love. I mean, I think we had. I mean, I think that. I mean, the whole world is influenced by the US, but I think South Africa is heavily influenced, by the US just in terms of how we live, how we kind of think about, how we integrate our kind of, I guess, cultural ways of doing things,
Yeah.
and kind of the modern ways of how society is, and so I think that kind of fast tracking of how life is helping to kind of fast track these innovations.
For sure. No, I totally agree. I think is the new way of working, the new way of living, Proptech has
Yeah.
the complete ability to shape that and to be a catalyst for it. And to even think about, like, the whole walkable place, and you just connectivity, but it also requires power, right? I was just having a friend of mine who's
Yeah.
this prop tech company, and he's working with some cities to they have these, basically they're self-standing power poles. They use solar, and you can charge
Okay.
a phone on
Oh,
it. You can put security cameras on it. You can do all sorts of things,
sure.
and it's all run off of solar. And and so, but
Wow.
that simple concept, right? But what does that change? That changes, like, okay,
Sure.
so you can put those on the streets in a city, and people can be outside walking around. There's a different retail experience. There's a different living experience, right? You don't have to be so close to a charger, or have to carry around a brick with you.
Sure.
You can charge your phone. There can be stations around
Yeah.
it, like here. And then the stores will want to
Sure.
buy them because they'll put them out front so people could charge their phones, and they're more likely to walk in. But just by that one simple concept of using solar to charge your phone or be a power source, it just changes the way cities feel, right? And I think, but there's
Absolutely.
all sorts of things that you
Yeah.
can do. I mean, we have infrastructure things, but you can be very mindful of using prop tech in a way that can make your city more desirable, right? And I think also after COVID,
Sure.
what happened was, because more people were remote working, the cities needed to wake up and realize, hey, Austin, you're now competing with Fayetteville, Arkansas, or you're now competing with somebody in
Right.
Arizona, because people can move. If
Sure.
they don't like your town, they're out of here, and they're going to go move wherever, because they can
Sure.
connect and work. They don't have to live in Austin to work
Sure.
or work in Austin. And so, or New York or Chicago or LA. And so this big
Yeah.
migration
Sure.
thing happened. It was like the craziest thing. People were keeping track of, like, reporting out, like, hey, who moved here from where? We
Wow.
had these like migration things all the time.
Really?
Yeah. So California lost a lot of
Wow.
people, and all these other people, and then some came to Texas because they didn't have to pay state income tax. I mean, it's this whole phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yes. But
I know
yeah,
that the state taxes in California drove a lot of people out of
yes,
California
yes,
into
yeah,
places like
yeah,
Florida and Texas,
yeah, for sure. So
So you're right.
yeah,
And I think, I mean, you spoke about Singapore. So I mean, I'm working with an organization, and what they're doing is that they thinking about those type of things. They actually have created an entire competition out of finding, one of the things that they're looking for is, startups that can create solutions. Proptech. They're looking at like the green economy as well, because I think they've realized those type of things is uh, they will not solve the problems themselves. They understand entrepreneurs, businesses,
Yeah.
investors are the ones that are going to come, because they are driven by finding solutions. And so I think that definitely is the best way to go. It's like, you know, find people that are driven to find these solutions to existing problems. And it's amazing if you find a party or a country that is actually open to actually listening to solutions outside of themselves.
Right. No. I totally get it. I would love if the US or more country would adopt what happens in the UK. And I don't know if we know this, but
Yeah.
in the UK, if you invest in a startup, you get tax breaks by investing in a startup. So so
Okay.
anybody can do it. So it just spurs investment into new technologies. And I think I was talking
Oh,
to a venture guy in the UK last night even, and he
okay.
was telling me
Yeah.
about it. And I was like, okay, I got to find more information about this because this needs to be commonplace, like in every country. Like if you want to, or the cities can do it or whatever. But if you want to get
Yeah.
yeah, but this has got to this I think that would spur so much investment from normal people. Like normal people can invest
What?
in startups, right? And you can make it
Yeah.
more accessible to everyone, right? No, because
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's actually very, very amazing because I think that's what you need, especially when you have kind of, everyday, working folk that want to start being like angel investors. And if you
Mhm.
make it accessible for them to have these tax breaks, I think you're gonna create an investor community. And that's, I think, where where things go, they kind of grow faster, you know what I mean? Because you're not kind of relying on just the big firms, to actually just be the capital allocators. You're actually looking at more innovative ways and more parties that are coming on board, and the innovation then becomes larger. Because I think also another thing that helps is it. And I think that's kind of one of the major challenges is that around financing.
Yeah.
I always say the greatest entrepreneurs are in offices working 9 to 5, because they just don't want to take the risk of being entrepreneurs,
Mm,
especially if they don't have
right.
uh, support systems that actually help them to, you know what I mean, to navigate the
Mhm.
initial stages. Whether they bring an idea, whether they trying to test this idea out, and it might not take a couple of months, it might maybe take a year.
Mhm.
So what happens within that year, and this person has a family, has loved ones that are looking up to them for to be source of income.
Yeah.
And so if you have a model like that is able to help plug, it's an amazing plug and play model that incentivizes both parties. It incentivizes you as an investor because you're
Mhm.
having solutions that are created for you that I mean, I would imagine, people that are investing in those ideas they're investing in those ideas because they feel they're solving problems that are,
Yeah.
dear to them,
Yeah.
the problems that they're facing on a daily basis.
Right.
And so it's a win-win because they get a solution. On the other side, you have, the entrepreneur who's creating these solutions that, is getting, um, they're getting support to help them, either test or bring the product into the market.
No, I totally agree. I mean, yeah, another thing I need to work on. I just got to go to, Washington, D.C. Oh, did I just say that out loud? No, I don't want to go to D.C.
You did, and I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna let me look at the time.
All right, I
So
know.
here it's
All right.
4:34
Okay,
p.m. I want to remind
okay.
you.
All right. Yeah, no, but yeah, I think yeah. I mean, we have very blessed in this country to have lots of people who have built wealth, and we have it's great for sure. Yeah, it's great. So we'll see. We'll see.
Sure.
We'll see.
So yeah. So tell me more about, like, I mean, what are you thinking of just the plans that you have for, the Proptech Council, because
Oh, you're
I
interviewing
think
me. This is
it's a great
great.
initiative.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
it goes both ways, isn't it?
It does. It does. So the PropTech is we have I've got a lot of initiatives that I'm working on. No joke.
Okay.
You're not going to believe me. So I started this group 3 years ago, but because I
Okay.
started my PropTech company, and I came from real estate, where in the United States there's like a group for every group's group. There's so many real estate groups,
Sure.
and so I
Yeah.
came from that world, and then I got into PropTech, and I'm like, so where's the group? I don't see any groups. Like, why are there no groups? This makes no sense. For the United States, we don't have a damn group. Like, I mean, I was hoping for like a full chapter, but we have no group.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you're in prop tech and you get busy, you stick your head down and you're like
Sure.
plunking away.
Yeah.
I was still real estate investing at the time. And so I didn't really do
Okay.
anything with it. But then we got through MVP on my company, and then we got through beta, and
Okay.
then we were
Yeah.
launching it early this year. We were launching for to other customers. And so you kind of come up for air and you're like, oh, I can breathe again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but I need to raise capital and all these other great things. So I started looking, I'm like, damn, I really need that group again. Right. And so I'm looking around and there's still no group. I'm thinking in 3 years, no group. I'm like,
Man.
are you freaking for real? Okay, fine. So late January, I just created this group on LinkedIn and just said, hey, come on,
Okay.
we're the cool kids. It's awesome. We're going to have events, whatever, whatever. And I started getting members and more members and more members.
Oh,
And
wow.
now we have 600, in 14 weeks, we have 600 members in my council.
Wow.
And we just
Impressive.
events. We've been we have the founders forum, which you attended. We have that every other week. We put on these virtual showcases.
And I'm going to join it every week.
Yes, yeah. We have these virtual showcases where we will so we have one today where we're showing off some founders. We put summits together. So I do those like every other month. And then yeah, so we have this podcast, which you're on, and then I put that out there. And then I just started a weekly newsletter. So at this airing, I put out a weekly newsletter, no joke, on 420. And so, yes, I know that's that's marijuana day. Like, I get it, right? So 420, like, I don't know if you get that in South Africa, but in the US.
I get it. The 420.
Yeah. 420 thing. Okay.
Don't worry. It's anything in the US gets celebrated everywhere in the world.
Well, maybe I was like, but I just stuck it out on LinkedIn. And then I started getting like a subscriber every minute. And no joke. And I was like recounting the count. And I was like, okay. So in 3 days, this is like the fourth day it started, but in 3 days, we have over 850 subscribers to my newsletter.
Wow.
In 3 days. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
I know. And that's why I'm like, okay, all right. I must have hit a chord. All right, let's go. So now it's like game on. So we're like, we're working on building out more resources for founders in the US. We have, we're putting together an association health and benefits plan. So like the startups can have benefits.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So if they're a company, then they can offer those benefits to their employees so they can attract better talent, right?
Yeah.
So you can steal those people from Microsoft because they're used to having health benefits, right? Or whatever.
Exactly.
Sorry, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Steal you people. Google.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But so we're doing that. Where I love the fact that I get to meet with other founders around the world because I borrow their program. So I talked with Daniel from Proptech Malaysia, and he has this whole program where he works with the universities, and I'm totally stealing that and bringing that over. And then building out a government affairs program so we can do advocacy. I was laughing about DC, but we're gonna go. So we're gonna have this whole government affairs program, and And then there's other things that we're working on that borrowing from the European Proptech Association and programs that they've started.
Yeah.
How can we bring that to the
Sure.
US? And but yeah,
Yeah.
it is like, talk about your hair being on fire. Like, oh my goodness, like it's woo, game on. So it's
All day.
so much fun. I mean, but it's truly so much fun because every day I get
Yep.
to help a PropTech founder because I connect them like you. I connect them with another resource. I'm like, hey, you need this person.
Yeah.
She's building this tech. So y'all need to get together and go,
I
conquer the
love
world,
that.
right? And it's great. And
I
it's
love that. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I love that because I think the connecting bit is the most important
Yes.
part now in PropTech.
Yes.
I think everyone is building everything in silo, and it hasn't worked in the past. You know, I mean, you have kind of rare cases of PropTech companies that have become, you know, conglomerates. They've listed, you
Yeah.
know, but generally I think there is a major need of having, you know, connectors that are able to, you know, bring people together
Mhm.
and be able to figure out you know, you guys need to speak, you know,
Yes,
because you guys
exactly.
are on the
Yeah.
same conversation. So it's great to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that also helps. I think that will be very, very, and I think that will help when the industry to grow,
Yes.
because especially as entrepreneurs, because we, you know, entrepreneurs, I mean, we're crazy. We work kind of in silos already, you know.
Yeah.
So we don't need more silos. I think we need kind of more
True.
communities that
Yeah.
brings us out of our silo, you know,
Yeah.
vibe,
Yeah.
to kind of help us to, you know, incorporate into um, just the solutions that we're building, and just also, you know, being able to kind of see, you know, ahead, you know, how do we build businesses that, and I love I think what you spoke about in terms of kind of the health benefits, because,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of, and I see it a lot with kind of helping the startups to fundraise.
Mhm.
It's um, they usually don't think about where the business is going to go, right? So
Yeah.
they only just focused on now. They're building this company,
Mhm.
you know. But when you sit down with investors, they're asking you hard questions like, you know, you're trying to scale this business. You know, are you still going to be the CEO in the next 5 years? And
Yeah. Yeah.
really tough questions like that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
so it helps to kind of have this community that helps, you know,
Yeah.
each other. You know,
Yeah.
with
And you got to see a little bit in the founders forum, but that was that is
yeah,
one of the main reasons why I started the council, because we have founders in there that had multiple exits. We have founders in there that IPO'd. We founders,
wow,
and so we get to
sure,
hey, what did you do about this? And like, I'm like, and I'm really trying here.
yeah,
But then those founders also know founders, and so they end up connecting
sure,
people too. And so it's great. I mean, and but
ah,
we spend time, no joke, we'll spend time just talking to one another. And I loved it because I was asking one the other day about, I'm like, okay, yeah, how much percent equity should I give my CTO? Like, what's fair? Like, I don't know. Like, what's
sure,
fair, right? And so
sure,
you go through all these
yeah,
conversations, and everybody's like, oh yeah, well,
sure,
this is what I did. So it's great. I mean, it's fabulous, and we
yeah,
need more of those
yeah.
conversations happening for sure.
No, and it helps. It helps because those are valuable information that you'll never get. You can't Google it. You know, you actually do
Yeah,
need the people that have walked the you know what I
yeah,
mean, the those paths, to
yeah,
actually sit down with you and actually say,
yeah.
you know what, I walked this. I don't want you to kind of walk into some of the pitfalls that I faced.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
there's a
for
better way of doing it.
I know. I mean, that it's most part of fun of my Tuesdays, and it's every other week and it's just awesome. And you really do get to kind of, and you get to collaborate. And that's the best thing about it is you're collaborating. So
Yeah,
there's other founders in there and I'm like, hey, yeah, we need to partner up. Like you and I need to talk because like
yeah,
we can do business together, right? And so building
yeah,
those
sure,
mutual partnerships, which is just great. Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, and
yeah.
I
And
love
I
that
and
you're,
I love the
yeah.
yeah. I love the guy that was presenting yesterday, because I think it
Oh
was
yeah,
from Bloom, right?
yeah, he's from Team Bloom. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When he spoke about and it stuck to me, you know what I mean? Because it's like one of those things that is a reality. Is when you building your company in one, you know, part of the world or one country, and you're trying to, you know, kind of you know, create another base in a different country, you know,
Right.
how do you think about how, you know, building a business, because it will never be exact replica of where you're based, you know, which
Yes.
means you have to collaborate with other people that are in different parts of, you know,
Yeah.
where you're not, you know, where you are not in,
Mhm.
to be able to kind of figure out, you know, best ways of you know, building strategy, you know, ways of integrating partners in, you know, what kind of partners. So I think great job to you, Amy,
Oh,
for you know, the council. I think you're gonna do some great work. I'm glad to be a part of it.
yay.
I mean, we're gonna do a
I'm
lot of
part
work,
of
you
it
know.
too. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because I think it's a really needed, you know, a resource for, I think for startups, which I think will greatly benefit startups and the council, you know,
Yeah.
or you know, in the process as well.
All right. This has been such a cool conversation. Thank you for coming
Been
on.
amazing,
Oh,
Amy.
it's been so
Yeah.
amazing. It's so awesome. Well, so if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn as Madite Moalusi. So my surname is Moalusi. Or they can just Google my company, Bafo, which is BAFO Group Global.
Okay.
It's on LinkedIn. So we have a page on LinkedIn. We're on Insta. We have a page as well on X, Twitter. Everyone still calls it Twitter.
I call it Twitter.
Uh,
I'm never calling it X. I refuse to call it X. It's the
I will never call
dumbest
it X.
name
I will never
ever.
call it X. Yeah, no.
Do you
Yeah,
tweet an X? You
I
don't
can't
tweet
get used
an
to
X. Like you
it.
like do you X an X?
Yeah,
Like I don't understand. Like why
no,
did you change the
it can
name?
never work. It can never work. You know, but that's a conversation for another day.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm on those platforms, either my company, BAFO Group Global,
Okay.
or myself, Madite. Um, yeah, but if they definitely want to, you know, link up with me, that they need to come through to the Proptech forums. I'm definitely going to be there every week. You know, because I saw yesterday, you know, the 30 minutes that I was there, just the caliber of people that are there, the conversations.
Mhm.
Definitely a place to be every week. So I'm there. So yeah, if they can't get a hold of me on social media,
Yeah.
they just need to come through to the Proptech forum. They'll
Yeah.
definitely find me there.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Amy. I look forward to more chats. I think we have a lot to chat about,
Yes,
and there's a lot
sure.
of collaboration, you know, in the pipeline that we can definitely put into action.
For sure.